I heard my dad calling me in the living room, but he was out of town. I was 15 when it happened. One of those moments that changed the way you see the world forever. My dad had left for a business trip earlier that morning, and I had the house to myself for the weekend. I wasn't nervous about it. I had been home alone plenty of times before. Our neighborhood was safe, and I had Luna, my golden retriever, with me. Before leaving, my dad reminded me, as always, to keep the doors locked, don't open for strangers, and if anything weird happens, call me. I wish I had listened to that advice sooner. The first time I heard it, that night, around 11 p.m., I was curled up on the couch watching a movie, wrapped in a blanket, Luna asleep at my feet. The only sounds in the house were the low hum of the TV and the occasional rustle of tree branches against the window. Then I heard it, clear as day, a voice. "Hey kiddo, come here for a sec." I froze. It was my dad's voice, calling me from the living room. My stomach twisted. The hairs on my arms stood up. I turned my head slowly toward the dark hallway that led to the living room. My heart started pounding. Dad wasn't home. He was in another state. I had spoken to him just a few hours ago. I swallowed hard. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I was overtired. I reached for the remote and paused the movie, holding my breath. The silence in the house suddenly felt suffocating, like the air itself was waiting for something. Then, "Come here, buddy." Now, the voice was sharper, louder, more insistent. I felt a cold sweat break out on my back. Luna, who had been dozing off, suddenly perked up. She lifted her head, ears rigid, sniffing the air. Then she did something that made my stomach drop. She let out a low, deep growl. Not a warning growl, a terrified one. I gripped her collar as my brain scrambled for an explanation. It had to be the TV, right? Some weird background noise? But the movie was paused, and the voice had come from the hallway. The shape in the dark. I turned my head toward the entrance of the hallway again, my fingers digging into Luna's fur. That's when I saw it. A shape. Something standing in the darkness, just out of reach of the dim light from the TV. I couldn't make out details, but I could feel it watching me. Then it moved. Not like a normal movement. Not like a person shifting their weight or taking a step. It glided, like something was sliding forward without actually walking. I sucked in a sharp breath, my pulse hammering in my ears. And then it spoke again. "Come here, buddy. I need to show you something." It was my dad's voice. Exactly his voice. Same tone, same warmth. But it was coming from that thing. The escape plan. My body finally caught up to the danger. I snatched my phone off the couch and sprinted toward the stairs, dragging Luna behind me. As I ran, I heard footsteps pounding behind me. Heavy, fast footsteps, like something had suddenly come to life and was chasing me. I didn't look back. I practically threw myself into my bedroom, slamming the door shut and locking it. Luna was barking now, frantically pawing at the door, her hackles raised. My hand was shaking as I unlocked my phone and texted my dad. "Me, where are you?" He responded almost immediately. "Dad, at the hotel." "Why?" I hesitated, my fingers trembling as I typed. "Me, I just heard you in the house." There was a long pause. Then, "Dad, get out. Now." That was all I needed. I grabbed Luna and bolted for the window. We lived in a 2-story house, but my room was above the garage, and I knew I could drop down onto the roof and jump. As I unlatched the window, I heard my bedroom door handle turn. Softly, slowly, click, 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 like someone or something was testing it. Then from right outside my door, my dad's voice whispered, "You don't have to be scared, buddy. Just open the door." The final terrifying discovery. I didn't wait. I shoved the window open and climbed out, half sliding, half falling onto the garage roof. Luna followed, whimpering. We ran barefoot across the cold shingles, and I jumped down, landing hard in the bushes below. My neighbor's house was just across the street. I sprinted toward it, pounding on their door. They let me in, and I barely managed to explain what happened before they called the police. When the cops arrived, they searched the house. They didn't find anyone. No signs of forced entry. But they did find one thing. The attic hatch, the one that my dad always kept locked, was wide open. Inside, they found long, deep scratches along the walls, as if something had been crawling around in there. The scariest part? The dust in the attic showed a single set of footprints. They led to the hatch, but none leading away. To this day, I don't know what it was that called me that night, and I don't think I ever want to find out. I thought my best friend came over, until she sent me a snap from her house. I never used to be scared of being home alone. In fact, I kind of enjoyed it. The silence, the freedom to blast music, the ability to walk around in pajamas all day without judgment. But now, I can never be home alone without feeling like someone is watching me. It all started on a Friday night. My parents were out for the weekend on a business trip, and I had the house to myself. My best friend, Olivia, was supposed to come over for a sleepover, but she canceled at the last minute because she wasn't feeling well. I was a little bummed, but figured I'd make the best of it. Some Netflix, a pizza, and scrolling through social media sounded like a pretty good night to me. Around 8:30 p.m., just as I settled into the couch with my pizza, I heard a knock at the front door. It startled me because I wasn't expecting anyone. My heart rate spiked a little, but I quickly calmed myself. Maybe Olivia had changed her mind and decided to come over after all. I peeked through the peephole. It was dark outside, and the porch light cast long shadows. But standing there, clear as day, was Olivia. Relieved, I opened the door. "You scared me," I laughed. "I thought you weren't coming." She didn't say anything right away. She just stood there, looking at me with this unreadable expression. It was off. Olivia was always bubbly, always quick to joke around, but now she just seemed different. Her eyes were blank, her face devoid of any emotion. "Liv," I prompted. Finally, she smiled, but it was wrong. Too wide, too forced. Then she stepped inside without saying a word. A cold chill ran down my spine. "You okay?" I asked, closing the door behind her. She just nodded and sat on the couch. I shrugged it off. Maybe she really wasn't feeling well. I handed her a slice of pizza, but she just stared at it. "Not hungry?" I asked. No response. Something about the silence was suffocating. Trying to shake off the weird feeling, I picked up my phone to scroll through social media. That's when I got a Snapchat notification from Olivia. Confused, I opened it. My stomach dropped. It was a picture of Olivia sitting on her bed at home, captioned, "Still feeling sick. Wish I could have come over." My hand started shaking. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe she sent it earlier and it just now came through. But no, the timestamp showed it was sent just a minute ago. My breath caught in my throat as I slowly turned my head toward the Olivia sitting on my couch. She was already looking at me, and now she was smiling. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. The air between us thickened with something I couldn't define, something unnatural. Then she spoke, but it wasn't Olivia's voice. It was distorted, like someone tried to mimic her, but failing. "You okay?" she asked, mocking my own words from earlier. That's when I knew I had to get out of there. I forced a laugh, trying to keep my voice steady. "Oh, I forgot something upstairs. Be right back." I stood slowly and backed away, never taking my eyes off her. As soon as I turned the corner, I bolted up the stairs and locked myself in my bedroom. My heart pounded so loudly I was afraid it would give me away. I grabbed my phone and called Olivia. She picked up almost immediately. "Hey, what's up?" My throat felt dry. I struggled to find words. "Where are you?" She hesitated. At home? I told you I wasn't coming, remember?" I gripped my phone tighter. "Liv, someone is in my house. Someone who looks exactly like you." Silence. Then she whispered, "Get out. Now." I didn't need to be told twice. I moved to the window, but I was on the second floor. Too high to jump without breaking something. My mind raced for an escape plan. Then I heard the creak of the stairs. My breath hitched. She was coming up. Thinking fast, I grabbed my desk chair and wedged it under the doorknob. My fingers trembled as I texted Olivia. "Call the police. Someone's in my house." I backed away from the door just as the knob started to turn. It jiggled once, twice, then silence. I held my breath. Maybe she had given up. Bang! The force of the hit shook the door. My entire body went rigid. Bang! 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 The wood splintered, and I let out a muffled scream. I had to do something. I yanked open my window and looked down. The awning over the back patio was my only chance. It would still be a rough landing, but better than staying here. The door cracked, revealing a sliver of the hallway. I didn't hesitate. I climbed out, braced myself, and jumped. The impact sent pain shooting up my legs, but I didn't stop. I ran. I ran like my life depended on it, because it did. I didn't look back as I sprinted to my neighbor's house, banging on their door until they answered. Their confused, sleepy faces barely registered before I choked out, "Someone's in my house." The police arrived minutes later. They searched the entire house, but found no one. No trace of forced entry. No sign of anything unusual, except for my front door, which was unlocked. But I knew what I saw, what I heard. The scariest part? When I checked my security camera footage the next day, there was no sign of anyone ever standing at my front door. The camera showed me opening the door to nothing. Babysitting alone was boring, until the kids told me someone was watching us. I used to love babysitting. Easy money, kids in bed by 9, and free snacks while watching TV. What could go wrong? At least, that's what I thought before the night that changed everything. It was a Friday night, and I had agreed to babysit for the Parker family. 2 kids, Lily, 8, and Jacob, 6. Their parents were heading out for a late dinner and assured me they'd be back by midnight. I had babysat for them before, and it had always been a breeze. The kids were well behaved, the house was cozy, and they always left me extra cash for snacks. The night started off normally. We played some board games, watched a movie, and by 9 p.m., I tucked them into bed. I made myself comfortable on the couch, flipping through Netflix, enjoying the peace and quiet. That's when things started getting weird. I heard a faint tapping sound. At first, I thought it was the wind rattling a loose branch against the window. But as I muted the TV, I realized the sound was too rhythmic, too deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. It came from the sliding glass door in the kitchen. I hesitated, my pulse quickening. The Parker family lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Not exactly the kind of place where you expect weird things to happen. I walked toward the kitchen, my footsteps light against the hardwood floor. The curtains were drawn over the glass door, but I could see a faint outline through the fabric. Someone was standing outside. I froze. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to run, to grab the kids, and lock us in a room. But before I could move, a small voice behind me made me jump. "Who's that?" I turned to see Lily rubbing her eyes sleepily. She must have come downstairs for water. I quickly put a finger to my lips, signaling her to stay quiet. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure she could hear it. The tapping continued. Gathering my courage, I peeked through the curtain. Nothing. The patio was empty. My breath came out in a shaky exhale. Maybe I had imagined it? I tried to reassure myself, but something still felt off. Lily tugged at my sleeve. Jacob said he saw someone in his window. Chills ran down my spine. Jacob's room was on the second floor. I grabbed her hand and rushed upstairs, flipping on every light as we went. Jacob was sitting up in bed, hugging his stuffed bear, eyes wide with fear. "There was a man," he whispered, "outside my window." My stomach dropped. That was impossible. No one could reach the second-floor window without a ladder. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced a smile. "You probably had a bad dream, buddy," I said, but my voice wavered. "Let's check, okay?" I walked to the window, pulling back the curtain. Nothing but the dark backyard below. "See? Nothing there." Jacob didn't look convinced, but he nodded. I tucked him in, assuring both kids that they were safe, then double-checked all the doors and windows, locking everything tightly. I tried to shake the uneasy feeling as I went back downstairs, but my nerves were on high alert. I kept glancing at the glass door, half expecting to see a shadowy figure lurking outside. That's when my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. "Why did you close the curtains?" My stomach turned to ice. My hands trembled as I typed back. "Who is this?" 3 little dots appeared, then disappeared. Then again, then nothing. A cold sweat broke out on my skin. I immediately called the Parkers, but their phone went to voicemail. I considered calling the police, but what would I even say? "Hey, I think someone is watching me, but I have no proof." A sudden noise made me jump. A thud from upstairs. I bolted up the stairs 2 at a time, bursting into the kids' room. They were both awake, sitting up in bed, eyes wide with fear. "The closet," Lily whispered. I turned slowly. The closet door, which I was certain had been closed before, was now slightly ajar. I grabbed Jacob's baseball bat from the corner and took a shaky step forward, my breath coming in short gasps. My hand trembled as I reached for the door handle. I yanked it open. Empty. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Just some old coats and a few toy boxes. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. A footprint on the carpet. A muddy footprint too big to belong to either of the kids. I didn't hesitate this time. I grabbed both kids and my phone, locking us in the master bedroom. I dialed 911, my voice shaking as I explained what was happening. Minutes felt like hours as I pressed my ear to the door, listening for any sound. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate, moving down the hall. I held my breath. The kids clung to me, silent and trembling. Then the sound of the front door creaking open and closing. By the time the police arrived, there was no sign of forced entry. No footprints. No evidence that anyone had been in the house. Except for one thing. On the kitchen table, where I had left my phone earlier, was a single, muddy handprint. The police did a thorough search, but found nothing. The Parkers rushed home, horrified by what had happened. They installed security cameras and changed all the locks, but it never babysat for them again. I don't know who was watching us that night, but I know one thing for sure. They were already inside,